สวัสดีครับแฟนๆตีวิเจอร์ชาแนลทุกท่านนะครับวันนี้เราก็มาพบกับรายการจากซิกไฟชาแนลนะครับ USA นะครับซึ่งก็มีการสัมภาษณ์นะครับแพทเกลซิงเกอร์แล้วก็อาม่าลิซ่านะครับอย่างเป็นทางการนะครับตอนนี้ก็จะเป็นอาม่าลิซ่าแล้วก็ซูเปอร์บอยจาก Intel ในฮาเลมแพทเกลซิงเกอร์ที่ทุกคนรู้จักกันดีนะครับนี่ก็จะเห็นว่าออร่ามากแกโดดเด่นมากนะครับขอบคุณที่รับเชิญนะครับดูลีลาการนั่งไขว่ห้างของ2 CEO X86 นะครับแล้วนั่งสไตล์เดียวกันเลยนะฮะAVX AMX เลยนะครับอันนี้ป๋าแพทย์ก็พยายามอธิบายนะครับคือมีการแชร์ซอฟต์แวร์ร่วมกันเดี๋ยวผมจะเปิดเสียงให้ดังนิดนึงนะครับเพื่อให้ทุกคนได้ยินต้นฉบับเขาดีกว่าเดี๋ยวเฮียตีจะแปลบางส่วนที่พอแปลได้นะ
So it's really about how do we collaborate on agreeing what the interfaces need to be at the system level, how we have operating system and system level support for that, but then also how it embodies itself into the application stack. And for that, things like AVX and AMX, it's not like one is good or bad, right? But it is saying, when we're not aligned, we don't accelerate people's ability to bring applications onto the X86 architecture. And as the two companies that by far have been leading this over time. Us coming together in this way and saying we're seeking the input of the ecosystem to help guide that evolution. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I obviously interact with all of your ecosystem, and of course, I didn't talk to them before this, but what they told me in the past, this is a big step forward here. But I have to ask, Lisa, what's the genesis of this collaboration? How did it start? You and Pat, your companies were working kind of across your partners at some point, but how did it start?
Well, let me just add to some of the things Pat said. Look, this is a really important day for the ecosystem, and it really is about the ecosystem. What we have a shared goal, which is to get the best compute out there and to do it in the most effective way possible. When you think about X86, it really is the architecture of the last 40 plus years in terms of where all compute innovation has happened. And what we're really trying to do here is really bring the ecosystem together where we have an opportunity to kind of accelerate the pace. Right. So back to how this happened. So Pat and I do see each other from time to time at various industry events, and the truth is we hear a lot from customers that they appreciate X86, they appreciate all of the technology, but boy, could AMD and Intel make it easier for them? Yeah. So I think that is a foundation of it, and then we brought some of our teams together. It started actually with our CTOs, Greg Lavender, Mark Papermaster, and some of our technical team. And what we found is there's really a deep respect between these teams. I mean, yes, we compete, but these are two of the best processor teams in the industry. And at the end of the day, we want to get innovation out there as fast as possible. So it was a very natural thing. I think this is the right moment, just given everything that's happening in infrastructure and AI, for us to bring the ecosystem together.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It felt a little surreal, right? Because hey, I've been a firsthand witness to some of these.
วันนี้อาม่าก็ได้กล่าวถึงไปแล้วนะครับก็คือมีการแชร์ในเรื่องสถาปัตยกรรม CPU ร่วมกันโดยจะมีเกรกจาก Intel แล้วก็ไมค์คลาร์กจาก AMD นะครับเป็นหัวหอกหลักในการพัฒนาฮาร์ดแวร์ในอนาคตร่วมกันนะครับทั้งคู่ก็มีความเชื่อมั่นในพลังของ X86 นะครับที่จะเพิ่มขึ้นอย่างมหาศาลในอนาคตจากการร่วมมือกันครั้งนี้ครับ
Yeah, I have to share with you. I mean, when your teams messaged me for the first time, I mean, I was Intel's biggest customer, and I worked at AMD. So, the two, and I've covered you too for 13 going on 14 years now in my company. And yeah, it was quite an event. And I knew there was collaboration going on across with engineers. Engineers seem to get along better.
มีการแชร์ across engineer ระหว่าง CPU ทั้งสองค่ายนะครับ
trying to give the customers what they want. Now it's official, right? It's direct access. So again, I just think this is a huge step forward for x86 and your customers.
Pat, so often we talk about on our shows and guests about how competition is great for the market. But collaboration can be great for the market too, and I think this is one of those cases.
การแข่งขันก็เป็นสิ่งที่ดีและการร่วมมือก็เป็นสิ่งที่ดีนะครับ
And I expect that you will, but you can also collaborate in a way that drives a ton of value to customers, expanding the market. And Lisa, you mentioned that expanding the market. You talked about it in the release, and what does that mean? Because you dominate in so many parts of the market.
ทาเดียมาเป็นผู้นำนะครับIntel ก็ยอมรับเป็นผู้ตามนะครับ
Well, look, I think this is really about all of the above, right? I mean, the idea is x86 is when you look at x86, you look at our customer set, and you look at the applications. Yes, we are everywhere today. But the market is moving very fast right now. There's a tremendous amount of innovation, whether you call it architectural innovation, implementation innovation, on the software side, on the application side, and with all of that, the purpose of this advisory group is to really allow our
ทุกอย่างพัฒนาไปเร็วมากนะครับทั้งฝั่งฮาร์ดแวร์และซอฟต์แวร์
our teams to move faster and really
เราทั้งสองบริษัทต้องมีการพัฒนาร่วมมือกันนะครับเพื่อให้ทุกอย่างตามทันความต้องการของ user นะครับ
across all these applications but there are some places where if we work with the advisory group together and agree we will actually move the ecosystem faster and that's what this is about that's how we expand the market frankly is
ถ้าเราร่วมมือกันการขยายตลาดมันก็จะเป็นไปได้อย่างดีทั้งสองฝ่ายนะครับ
questions always come down to timing. So I'm curious, I will start with you, Pat. When would we expect to see the first fruits of the labor here?
และแรงงานจะทำยังไงล่ะ
Right? Because I think just sending this message to the ecosystem, I think people will all of a sudden pause and say, can I go partner with them? Right? Can I go look at the x86 through a more forward-looking lens than I had before? And we're already having those conversations, right? Some of the cloud guys. So it's like, right? So I can influence this and think about, how I shape the x86, and whether that's at the application level, whether that's at, custom product levels, whether that's at the chipset level, chiplet level, whether that's, new use cases. So I believe that, today you already will start seeing that difference of ecosystem energy being unleashed. That said, we're going to get underway. We'll have the first advisory group meeting. And I'd also emphasize when you have people like Tim and Linus in the room, right? You have technical heavyweights.
Sure.
I mean, as I'm talking to Linus.
Very outspoken.
And they don't waste their time. Right, in that regard. They're going to expect results. They're going to expect influence, or they're not going to spend their time on this. Right. So, these are impatient, heavyweight folks. And you look across the other companies that are participating in it, they're putting their best people on.
เสียงอ่อยหน่อยนะครับสำหรับแพทเกลซิงเกอร์นะครับพอยพูดดังหน่อย
the same room with Tim and Linus. So don't send people that can't sit in the same room with them and have good technical conversations.
Right.
These are quality individuals that have invested enormous amounts of energy around the x86 ecosystem and have huge amounts of their own technical credibility associated with that, but their business as well. So they're looking for results, and we have to show up. And then, of course, we're going to go compete viciously for who's the best at implementing that guidance.
I just want to add to what Pat said, though. The other thing that was true is as we came up with this idea and reached out to the partners, every single one was super energized by this. So the idea of bringing these people together, basically the best
มากพูดดีมากครับทั้งสองบริษัทมีทีมที่ยอดเยี่ยมนะครับการรวมกันก็จะทำให้เกิดสิ่งที่ยอดเยี่ยมตามมา
How do you envision the future of x86?
Well, again, I mean, maybe I'll start and you can add. Look, I think think what we have here is the x86 architecture has, again, evolved over the last number of decades to really be the best architecture for high performance compute.
นี่ X86 จะเป็นสถาปัตยกรรมที่ดีที่สุดนะครับ
efficiency, all of these aspects of it.
ประหยัดพลังงานแล้วก็เป็นสถาปัตยกรรมที่ใช้กันอย่างแพร่หลายทั่วโลก
At the end of the day, we're looking at where does the architecture need to evolve to really scale from cloud to enterprise to edge to client to mobile to auto across all of those spectrums.
Right.
And so this is an opportunity for us to evolve. Now the beauty of x86 is the fact that because of its long history, many of the traditional compute applications have really come to rely on that capability. But yes, we're looking at where x86 is going to go over the next 40 years.
Yeah, and, just maybe a couple of more concrete examples to put against that, right? I mean, obviously, GPUs and accelerators are super important for AI workloads, but almost all of the databases, embeddings, RAG use cases are running on the x86. Okay, how do you tie those things together? Right? Because, people aren't going to port their 30-year-old databases just to take advantage of an accelerator and move all of that code over. How do you stitch those two together? Hey, that's a pretty important topic for us to figure out of how we extend the x86, not just the native instructions, like AVX and AMX, but also, how do you extend memory spaces? How do you...
อันนี้ก็น่าจะชัดเจนว่า Intel ได้ให้ไลเซนส์ AMX Advanced Accelerator กับ AMD ไปเรียบร้อยแล้วนะครับ
I started working on security in the underlying...
ตอนนี้ Intel มีปัญหาเรื่อง security นะครับ
5 years ago.
นี่นะค
The
รับ
amount of deployed confidential computing today is pitiful, right? The recent CrowdStrike issue. Hey, that should have been resolved in minutes, not weeks or months, right? Associated with it. We can do much better, right? At that. When you think about new segments, automotive, right? A car is a computer with tires, right? Today. Okay, we have the best computing architecture that runs more of software forever, right? So how do we, sort of standardize and just make that, an extension of the x86 platform? When you think about the legacy of the x86, you go into these environments and people say, well, I run all of my test instrumentation and validation environment on x86, even for non-x86 environments. Why? Because it's been built over the last 2 to 3 decades. Why would I ever replace it, right? If it works and is functional. So I think the long tail being able to be brought forward is a super powerful asset of the ecosystem as well.
So as we bring this conversation to a bit of a close here, I have to ask this, right? The people that are out there that are going to watch, they're going to say, okay, is this publicity? What's going on? You got the two of you, very convincing, of course, but how will this collaboration, continue to be found in the wild? And maybe, Lisa, why should those that maybe are a little skeptical feel that this announcement has legs, is real, and that you're very committed to this?
Well, I think you can just take a look at it's not just AMD and Intel. It's really all of the giants of the industry around computing today. And we have a common goal. The common goal is to move the industry forward. And for that reason, I think this advisory group is actually it's exactly the right time to bring something like this out. It's an opportunity for us to move the industry faster. It's an opportunity for really. What hasn't existed before, which is, for, frankly, the industry ecosystem to give us, really, very clear feedback on what's needed. And, let me just say, Dan, one of the things I say is, we're not necessarily, don't think of this as an x86, thing. This is really a, computing industry thing. What are we doing to move the industry forward? And, that's why today's a very important day.
And, this is also measured by the intellectual horsepower, that's part of the advisory group as well. And I would just say, look at the names that are part of this. Okay, they care. They wouldn't waste their time. They're pretty intent on this, and they're building on the investment that many of them have for decades. And here we are at Lenovo World as we're having this conversation. They built their entire company on the x86, and that's the case for many of the companies that are participating. So, they're not going to, suffer their time, randomly. They're investing to make a big impact as a result of the tremendous legacy that we have, the most powerful software ecosystem that's ever been built on Earth, and now we're committed together to extend it.
And a great reminder from both of you about the ecosystem. It's not just Intel and AMD, but a number of partners, founders, advisors being involved. And for everyone out there that wants to learn more, check out Pat wrote a great Forbes article published this morning, dives deep into this. Pat, Lisa, thank you both so much for taking the time, for making this happen, for allowing us to be part of this.
เรียบร้อยนะครับจากการสัมภาษณ์2 CEO ผู้ยิ่งใหญ่นะครับและนี่คือภาพแห่งความประทับใจนะครับAMD Intel จับมือกันแล้วนะครับในการที่จะสานต่อความสำเร็จของ X86 นะครับไปอีกนานกว่า40 ปีในอนาคตทีเดียวนะครับน่าจะเป็นข่าวดีสำหรับทุกคนครับ